Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 career mode, episode number 91 today for the Hungarian Grand Prix in Season 5. We can see here on the engine, we're pretty damn good now. We're officially over the halfway mark of the season now, and so that should mean we're theoretically going into Column 3. The only component we are doing that on at the moment is control electronics. Everything else, we're still on Column 2, and you can see going to practice, we're still able to use Column 1's components for the practice programs. Of course, it's always better just to use the worn-out ones during free practice. You don't want to use the new ones to kind of wear them out. But yeah, the only kind of odd anomaly there is the control electronics. I don't know why for some reason, but that is the one thing that is wearing quite a bit on the Force India. Now, control electronics are kind of worn out, as I believe it, when you go over curbings, basically, and when the car gets kind of vibrated around, which is kind of odd because I don't feel like I've been driving the car any more aggressively than I have other cars over the curbings. Maybe it's just a Force India specific thing we've seen before in practice. Sometimes when there are those kind of random failures of the sensor or the fuel or, you know, the braking in qualifying or in practice sessions when you have to wait and you have a bit of delayed time before you can go out on your session. Obviously, different cars have had different characteristics of what usually fails in those little moments. So maybe that is just a characteristic of the Force India. I'm not too sure. Maybe the control electronics are just something that wear out a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe some of you guys have also driven the Force India in career mode. Maybe that's something you've noticed or not noticed. Either way, maybe let me know in the comments below. But we're going to move then swiftly on then into qualifying, and we've gone through Q1, and Nico Hülkenberg looking pretty handy at the moment in the two Mercedes cars after a pretty strong weekend, obviously, for one of them. Obviously, the other one went out the Grand Prix, Bottas, after spinning, but the other one went up on to win the race last time in episode number 90. If you didn't see that, by the way, be sure to go check that one out before you continue the rest of this one. But again, the two Ferraris not really turning up yet, and they probably won't do in Q2, I imagine, as we come across the line. Then what is it going to be for us? It's going to be P6, and that is where it's actually going to end for us then, P6. And actually, surprisingly, the Ferraris do turn up somewhat, so Vettel goes fastest, but Hamilton's still pretty much there, quite close behind, only 2/10 there. And Perez narrowly a little bit toward the further end of the top 10 in P9, so maybe alluding to, obviously, Hungary's Monaco without the barriers pretty much in Sector 2, so maybe our car is not going to be as strong as maybe some others at this circuit compared to maybe the last race, where obviously both of us were very, very good indeed. Obviously, you need plenty of downforce around this circuit, but I'm running pretty high wings to try and counteract that. Obviously, the AI will probably, you know, run very near to default, I would imagine, for Perez, so I think I'm running 10.9, I think it may be, if I remember correctly, so pretty high wings, so it is going to maybe compromise us a tiny bit in the race when it comes to maybe trying to overtake with DRS down this main straight, but in qualifying for sure, it's going to help out for, a lot in Sector 2, and we come across the line then, and it's only P8 though, so after all that about maybe helping us out, that's just where the car is, unfortunately. So you can see the very kind of stark contrast from last race to this race at the moment, in qualifying at least, where our car is. But Bottas did a pretty piss poor job as well, and Hamilton way down the order as well. It looks like both the Red Bull and Ferrari teams turned up, but in the end, it's Nico Hülkenberg on pole position. So that Renault, in the hands of Nico Hülkenberg at least, I can't say too much about Jolyon Palmer, but in the hands of Nico Hülkenberg's AI, is a really, really decent car. I mean, they made the step up, obviously, after we left them in Season 3. They dropped off, though, for most of last season, and it seems like it's taken them one season without me to kind of readjust back to life without me in the car, kind of, and now Nico's kind of actually doing the job, and he's consistently being up there for the top fight for pole position and even the race wins and podiums. So we'll see if that converts through to the race, and we'll see what we can do, myself and Perez. As I said, we may have compromised ourselves a little bit on the straight line speed, so interesting to see how that's actually going to pan out, because we do have plenty of overtaking to do if we want to try and beat Kimi Räikkönen this afternoon and try and get up the order. But let's go to the full grid then, see if any penalties are on the way for any drivers, and then we'll get into the race.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Nico Hülkenberg lines up on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton and Räikkönen, Palmer and the Force India, Bottas and Sergio Perez, Massa, Grosjean, Kevin Magnussen and Sainz, Alonso, Stroll, Stoffel Van Dorn and Pascal Wehrlein. Ericsson and Daniel Kvyat completes the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So no penalties for the top flight then, so we stay put in our grid slot. And looking ahead to the race strategy then, it's either going to be a 1 or 2 stop, obviously, super soft to the medium, or using 2 sets of super softs and 1 set of soft. You can see on the race distance, on the actual timing, there's not actually too much difference, about a second or so. So maybe it's a case of on the fly, let's just see how it pans out, where we are on track, maybe what cars we got around us, and then we'll make a decision as we race. But here we go then to 5 red lights to kick off this second half of this season. 5 lights are out and we're underway here for the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's a good start for us compared to Jolyon Palmer, but an even better one for Valtteri Bottas, of course. Really did not perform well in qualifying yesterday, trying to make up for it into turn 1. We kind of got penned in there behind Kimi Räikkönen, and then Perez has slammed it down the inside. Bit of contact was made there, and so he barged his way past up into P8. So we're up into P9 though. We've re-overtaken Bottas, so he's fallen back initially from that good getaway. Meanwhile, we've got Vettel trying to hang it to the inside. I think that's Lewis Hamilton. Meanwhile, Nico Hülkenberg is bolted away as we send it to the inside of Checo, and we're up into P8. And so up ahead, Räikkönen battling with Palmer. There's been a bit of contact in the distance between Vettel and the Red Bull cars. We pull through to the right-hander. We've taken a bit of a wider line, bit of a mistake from me, and that's allowed Perez. It's opened up the door for him to go down the inside. Not only me, but also Palmer really late on the brakes. Our teammate is, but we are patient through the chicane. We wait for Perez to make a mistake in the second phase. He went a little bit wide, but he's still got it to the inside, and you can see I just have to tuck in behind. There's nowhere I can hang it to the outside, just not got the grip and the downforce yet on heavier fuel. Maybe on lower fuel that would have been possible, but when the car's this heavy, he just didn't feel confident enough pulling it to the outside. But as we go now into the next right-hander, Perez takes a very defensive line. We're able to pull it to the outside. A little bit of a track extension on the exit and the curbing, but Perez gives us the room. Then into the second last corner, we've locked up a little bit, skated through that corner, but on the exit we kind of scare Perez out of the way and we're back up the order. But meanwhile, Palmer still kept at bay by Räikkönen, and I wonder what's being made of Vettel's front wing perhaps, because there definitely was some contact between him and the 2 Red Bull cars. Looks like at the moment he's stayed ahead of them, so I believe the running order must be Nico Hülkenberg then from Hamilton, Vettel, the 2 Red Bulls. And you can see as we cut back to our POV, I'm trying my best to now pull onto the end of Palmer's car, but having a bit of an issue on the exit of turn 1. And down that straight away on this lap, I could already tell that down that main straight, that's not where we're going to maybe be making some overtake this afternoon, because with the amount of wing I'm running to do well in sector 2, it's just really hurting the straight line speed, even with a Mercedes engine. So now this is maybe the place where I need to make overtakes happen down the inside. A little bit of contact was made on the entry, to be fair, and the hand of anger does go up as we make some contact with the sidewall of our tyres, left hand side with Palmer, but we go neck and neck through the chicane, and on the exit it's a tight old squeeze, but we just get past into P7. So I think if we're going to be making any more overtakes this afternoon, it's going to be in that area of the circuit, sector 2, where the setup that I've gone with is going to work out. Down this straight though, it's just not going to happen, I don't think, unless we see a few mistakes like we've just seen ahead of us, with Räikkönen locking up as he gets a little bit impatient maybe with Max Verstappen. He's had DRS open then down that main straight, but unable to pull past the Red Bull. So Verstappen doing well at the moment to defend quite well, and you can see how much he's kind of holding Räikkönen and inadvertently me up, as Ricciardo is literally storming away now. A bit of a huge gap between Ricciardo and then Vettel respectively, and then Hamilton and Hülkenberg respectively. So it's kind of spreading out a little bit, which is not great to see, to be honest, for us if we're wanting to make any more positions up. If the field spreads out any more, obviously there'll just be too much time to make up. But at the moment, Räikkönen makes a really nice move to the outside turn 1 and has got past Verstappen. We'll take this opportunity to send it down his inside. A little bit of contact's made down the exit. We tussle, and I'm just feathering the throttle, trying to get the power down. We go flat out now, and we leave Verstappen the room on the inside. He's unable to hold it down the inside, and we're up into P6. So thank you very much, Räikkönen, really, because Räikkönen put Verstappen off enough by going down his inside on that second corner that allowed us to make that move. So me and Räikkönen, title rivals at the moment, but we're both kind of using each other and working well at the moment in tandem to get past all these guys up ahead. And now it looks like as we enter the heart of the Monaco-esque section, I guess you could say, of Hungary, we've got a lapped car there. You can see the minimap lit up in blue. So someone obviously struggling in the opening stages. It's Kevin Magnussen, and we just narrowly dart past him there. That was really quite dangerous. I don't know what on earth he was doing. He may as well have just stayed on the right hand side rather than cross across to the left hand side. So narrowly missed off lopping off our front wing, and I was really hoping actually at the time that Räikkönen maybe would have got held up by Magnussen, but in the end I actually probably got held up way more than Kimi did. But we come across the line on lap 7 then to set the fast lap of the Grand Prix. So you can see we've got some decent pace at the moment, and that's already being done in this second sector and maybe a bit of the third sector. But in the first sector, I definitely am losing time at the moment. You can see, pulling up close to Räikkönen's rear end, but then on the exit of turn 1, just unable to plant the power down as early as I want to. and then swinging through here, just not got any of the legs. And as we move on to the next lap at the end of lap 7 onto lap 8, you can see just pulling through to the inside and then going to really break as late as we can, and yet again getting oh so close. But I'm missing that kind of punch of oomph that we may have got usually if we were running lower wings. But obviously, as I said, you know, there's advantage and disadvantage to running what the wings I've got. Obviously, I'm a lot faster now in sector 2 because of it, and I think we would have probably been struggling even more if I have not been running the wings so high. So I'm just going to have to kind of take it on the chin really and just try and do the best I can. And now on lap 9, Raikkonen goes a little bit defensive actually, so that's a little bit odd from him because I really was quite far back actually. So he compromises his run through there, so it looks like actually we're as close as we ever have been now. So maybe we can get a good enough exit through the final corner, plant the power as early as we can, put it up into rich mix. We have DRS obviously, and let's see what we can do on the exit. We get a bit of an exit than I have done in the previous few laps, but you can see how much Raikkonen at this stage is actually holding me up. So even though I can't get past him in this straight line, Raikkonen, he is definitely holding me up, and my pace has dropped about by more than a second than what it was when I set my fast lap of the Grand Prix. So frustrations at the moment, pretty much your classic kind of 2017 F1 in real life problem of dirty and unable to get past, and even the DRS is not helping at the moment, and a kind of contentious moment of anger for me in the cockpit really whilst I was racing out there. You can see we're up into P2, Kimi in P1, so me and him are the only ones, along with Bottas it looks like, that are going a lot longer. The rest of them all definitely doing 2 stops this afternoon clearly. Then Hamilton, Hulkenberg, Vettel, the 2 Red Bull cars, where it looks like myself and Raikkonen are maybe committing to the 1 stop, at least I feel like I am. But as we move on to the end of that lap then, lap 10, Kimi comes in, which is a little bit too early for a 1 stop, so I feel like Raikkonen, I don't know, obviously I don't know if the AI even have that kind of coding in there, but he just stayed out for the sake of ruining my race a little bit, because it looks like now he is going to do a 2 stop, just a very odd 2 stop where he took the first stint a lot longer. You know, for a 1 stop you're going to be wanting to go a lot longer than just lap 10, so really annoying that. We basically just we've got our race ruined a little bit by Raikkonen honestly, but obviously he's our title rival, so you've got to expect that from him maybe. But as we swing through then some replay cameras of some battling going on between some traffic here of the Toro Rosso and the Haas car there. Obviously they have started on harder tyres I should say from the start of this Grand Prix. The Toro Rosso though is still on super softs, but these guys behind them, the Red Bull cars of Verstappen and Ricciardo, already made a pit stop along with Kimi, and you can see here Verstappen goes for a dive bomb and a half around the outside to make a double overtake. Not only his teammate, but also Raikkonen there. He shoved him past. Bit of contact's made actually. I think a bit of carbon fibre flailed off, but I wanted to include this in the video because a fantastic move by Verstappen. You know, came from so far back to overtake 2 cars there, and the Toro Rosso, a bit of teamwork there with Verstappen holding Raikkonen up. So that's going to maybe help us out. So a bit of karma then maybe for Raikkonen, that is. You know, Raikkonen holds us up, so the Toro Rosso holds him up, and he loses some time there against the Red Bull cars. I think that's only fair enough really in the grand scheme of things. But we come in then for our 1 and only stop of the afternoon onto medium tyres. Now, I'm not going to lie, before we got held up so much by Raikkonen, I did think about doing a 2 stop as well. But after we got held up so much by Raikkonen, I could clearly see the only chance of me maybe even getting near to a podium was trying the 1 stop and trying to defend track position. So that's what we're going to go for. We come out just ahead of Valtteri Bottas. He's going to be making another stop this afternoon, so we don't need to worry about him, as well as our teammate Sergio Perez. Carlos Sainz, though, out of this Grand Prix then, so he was the Toro Rosso holding up Raikkonen and 2 Red Bull cars in that replay camera before, so clearly had some sort of mechanical issues. But we're up into P8 then. We've come out behind Jolyon Palmer, but that's fine. He's definitely going to be making a second stop this afternoon, as well as Bottas, as I mentioned. And now we've got Lewis Hamilton out of this Grand Prix, so yet again another Mercedes car out of a race in Season 5. Literally insane. The Mercedes reliability is so piss poor. I really am quite curious to see what their R&D chart is. I doubt it had, you know, I'll be surprised if they had more than 1 upgrade done on each part of the R&D tree for durability, because they've had so many failures now. And then speaking about failures, Daniel Ricciardo then also ends up having a failure. So Hungary taking its toll on some of the top cars there, and so the Red Bull and Mercedes both out of this Grand Prix. So we move on to lap 21 then. So we've moved quite swiftly through this Grand Prix, and unfortunately not too much has been done so far. We've just been going pounding round really, trying to do the best we can, being as consistent as we can. But now you can see a few cars in the pit lane then, and we're up into P4 now, and Bottas is still staying with us, and he's actually closing up with the proximity arrow. But as I said, we don't need to worry about him. He can get as close as he wants. He can even overtake us really, if you know, I'm not really going to care, because he's going to have to make another pit stop anyway. So really, if he does overtake us, we could probably just use him as a bit of a DRS tow, really, in fact. And so we move on to a replay now of Nico Hülkenberg, this is, who's already made his second pit stop, I think, of the afternoon, and he's going to overtake Kimi Räikkönen then. He's going to go to the outside of turn 1, bit of an unorthodox way to overtake in turn 1, and Kimi's actually going to squeeze him out there, like I kind of thought would happen. But on the exit, Hülkenberg's actually managed to still bully his way past, actually. He got the shoulders out a little bit, so I really thought Kimi would have slammed the door shut, a la kind of Nico Rosberg did to Daniel Ricciardo when there was some contact there, but I guess that's why Räikkönen maybe didn't make any kind of contact there. He kind of just gave it the position because he knows Hülkenberg has got much better pace, and it looks like at the moment Nico is in a very strong position to go on to win the Hungarian Grand Prix off pole position then, because we've not really seen too much of him, but there you go. He's overtaken Räikkönen, but Räikkönen way down the order now in this race in terms of the pace he's got, and he's making a second stop of the afternoon. So as he pulled through the last corner then, a little bit wayward on the exit, so some tyre ways kicking in. You can see at the moment we're marginal on fuel, so at some point we are going to have to start thinking about going to lean mixture, but Vettel has now made his second stop of the afternoon, and soon enough Räikkönen up ahead in P2 will also be making his stop, so don't worry about that. So we should be getting up into P2 actually, so this one stop may be working out. Of course, Hamilton would have been the guy in P2, so that's why somehow out of nowhere we're coming out to maybe be in P2. That's why Hamilton would have been there. But as we make an overtake on some lap cars, then the Sauber really doesn't help me out there. I was really piss poor from him. That was quite frustrating because I was trying my best to maybe close up, because that dot on the minimap up ahead on the left hand side, you can see that's actually Räikkönen's dot. So I was actually hoping to maybe close up to Räikkönen fast enough to maybe make an overtake on track, but alas, he comes in the pit lane before I can do that. On lap 27, we just make a simple overtake on the strategy. But meanwhile, straight away as we make that overtake, Vettel's actually surprised me, come out of nowhere, and so we have to defend to the inside there. Double lock-up, and we just about managed to not make contact with Sebastian on the entry to turn 1. And that was a real shock, because I was kind of just focused on Räikkönen coming to the pit lane, and then out of nowhere, he just came and pounced down my inside. So we made an equally pouncing move to the inside to defend against him. And so for now, we're going to keep P2, but as we swing through the last corner then on lap 27 onto lap 28, Vettel's still very close. He's on super softs then compared to my medium, so he's going to have a lot better grip, so it's going to be a pretty big task to try and defend from him, but we'll try our best, and we've done it in the past with the Red Bull car and the Renault. Down the inside we'll defend, lock up on the right tire, that's not going to help me out. Vettel feeds it around the outside, and you can see on the exit, in terms of traction, Vettel just gets a much better exit, and he's going to have the better inside line. Brakes a lot later. We try best to the outside, then this next corner, you can see we've just not got the grip. Well, I plant the power, full throttle now, but it's no use. Vettel has much better entry and exit speed to that corner, and he's up the order into P2, and we're going to have to maybe settle down now for P3. I'll try my best to catch up to him, but I don't think it's going to be any use with our worn mediums versus his a lot fresher super soft tyres. Meanwhile, as we look down the order, this is Julian Palmer now being chased down by Kimi Räikkönen. Palmer goes to the outside of Pascal Wehrlein then to lap himself. A little bit of a lock-up though from Palmer, and that will invite Räikkönen to maybe come back into him, but Räikkönen then gets held up as well by Wehrlein. So Pascal Wehrlein being a huge thorn in Räikkönen's plans, and this is fantastic for us, of course. Obviously, the less points Räikkönen gets, the greater for us, and now we've got Valtteri Bottas right up his gearbox now, so this is going to be good. And so as we move on to the next lap, it's Bottas to send it to the outside, the same place where Verstappen overtook Räikkönen. Bottas goes right around the outside. It's going to be a great little tussle into the second last corner. Bottas, though, opens up the steering wheel on the exit, squeezes him out, and he's up the order, and that's one less place for Räikkönen, so that's fantastic news for us. Obviously, that's less places, less points. It's all good for us. We're going to come home in P3, pretty damn decent P3 as Nico Hülkenberg wins the Grand Prix. Vettel in P2, and you can see actually behind us as we go to the end of the race, Palmer's actually managed to catch up to us, so there are a few more laps in this race left. Palmer may have had an opportunity to maybe snag and steal the podium from me, but we are going to come across the line and finish off that bottom step of the podium. But a very strong race then for Renault, clearly, and Hülkenberg pretty much untouchable this race. Maybe Hamilton could have had a go at him, but obviously with an engine failure, that just wasn't to be, and kind of once again shows the kind of, well, you know, Mercedes, they've still got a fast car, Mercedes. They're just wasting that potential on just so many bad races. I literally don't think there's been a race this season where one of them's not gone out or had some sort of issue, at least, where they've been sent to the back of the pack. I don't think. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you can let me know what race that has been, because I'm struggling to actually remember the last 10 episodes whether Mercedes have had a kind of completely clean Grand Prix race. I don't think there has been. So yeah, just kind of very, very odd. It's still something that I've not got my head around. I don't know if it's literally some on-purpose AI coding or what, but yes, clearly Season 5 not the one for them. And it looks like Renault on a late charge. in the constructors-wise. I think Hülkenberg's probably a bit too far back in the Drivers' Championship to maybe start making a charge on myself and Raikkonen. I think at this stage, you've got to say maybe it's going to be going towards a fight once again between me and Kimi Raikkonen. But, you know, Hamilton and Hülkenberg aren't too far off. You know, maybe if me and Raikkonen get unlucky from now on, maybe that Hülkenberg and Hamilton could close up. But I think more so, this is important for the constructors. You can see now Renault move up into 3rd place ahead of Red Bull. Mercedes and Red Bull go down 1 place each, respectively. So this is more important for the constructors, that Renault are being so consistent at the moment that they are making a charge, a late charge. If they keep this up, they could be right there fighting us in Force India and Ferrari. We've now moved down to 2nd, unfortunately, with Vettel 2nd place there. So we're 4 points behind Ferrari now, the constructors. So that's definitely going to be a fight that we need to look out for. And I think unlike the last 4 seasons, really, this time I think this is probably the best bet of us even fighting for the constructors against Ferrari. This is the first time where they've really not been that consistent despite having issues with their car. But as we move on to the end of the episode then, we did not have enough points to purchase another major upgrade on the car, and I'd already obviously had the chassis upgrade going that we purchased some time back, the major chassis upgrade. So I didn't want to do an engine upgrade at this point in time, so I thought I may as well just upgrade the durability of the control electronics, seeing as that's the only real component that's causing us issues at the moment in terms of wear. So guys, if you have enjoyed that episode, smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.